Hey everyone, Mustang here. This is Lapka for Interlagos with the Ford Mustang Group 4. Let's get this started. Your first braking point is in between the 100 and the 50 meter mark. Brake in a straight line and slowly bring yourself into second gear. You'll be going into second gear to get the car to rotate a bit more, bring yourself to the left, then go into third gear. Short shift into fourth gear to prevent any oversteer. And as you saw just now, you can take advantage of the curbs as that is still considered in track limits. There's a little path on the right that is just after the 100 meter mark. Look for that path as you'll brake right before you pass it. Brake in a straight line, then start to trail brake as you go through the turn and slowly start to accelerate when you hit the apex. Do not hit the AstroTurf as you're going to have a bad time if you do end up hitting it. Then look for the 50 meter sign on the left as you'll start to brake before you reach it. Don't use all of your braking power, just use some, hit the first apex, and then you can slowly start to accelerate when you're halfway between those two turns. Then look for the last understeer sign on the very left as you're going to start to brake as you pass it. Once again, take advantage of the curbs over here as that is considered in track limit. And then go for a light apex on this turn and don't take too much advantage of the curb over there. Right after the green AstroTurf on the left starts, you want to start to brake. Don't take too much advantage of the curb here as you'll end up going slower. Be careful with accelerating out of the turn with the Mustang Group 4 as the car can get a little oversteering. Try to use a little bit of the curb on the left and then well before you pass the 50 meter mark, you will start to brake. Brake in a straight line, then trail brake as you're approaching the apex, and once you hit it, you can then slowly start to accelerate. Make sure you don't oversteer in that turn and try to stick really close to the left side of the track and you are pretty much good to go. Let's go ahead and talk about the strategy once we cross the finish line. Alright, so this happens to be a daily seat race where the fuel consumption is at ×3 and the tire wear is at ×11. You don't have to worry about the pit stop. Because of that, you don't have to worry about refueling nor changing tires. But when it comes to the tires, you do want to keep an eye out for them. See, the thing is that by the time the race is about to finish, depending on the car you're in, and I'll get to that in a moment, your tires could be worn out pretty bad to the point where you're understeering. So for example here, I'm in the Mustang Group 4, and I had the brake balance set to -1 for a bit in this race before I brought it to +1, and that way I could try to get some more tire wear on the rear tires and less on the front. But because the weight of the car is more towards the front since the engine is over there, the front tires are going to get more worn out than the rear tires no matter what. So because of that, my front tires are going to be noticeably worn out towards the end of the race. With the Huracan, which is a 4-wheel drive, that one has a bit better tire wear, so that one's definitely a good contender. I mean, the Mustang Group 4 is a good contender, but it's just that you want to be careful with how much you're pushing the car and where you have the brake balance at. However, there is one car that I noticed that has some really good tire wear, and that is the Alfa Romeo 4C Group 4. Of course, it's not going to have the best pace since it's not the Metacar, at least in terms of time trial, but when it comes to the race, the car is going to start to shine towards the end of the race because everyone else is having to deal with worn tires, while the 4C Group 4, that one's still fine. So to sum things up, your tire wear is the main thing you should be focusing on, just trying to make sure that it doesn't get too worn out. And a couple ways to deal with that is by changing the brake balance towards the tires that are not getting as worn, so rear tires in my case. Or you can even just drive a bit more carefully, a bit more conservatively. Or you can just use the 4C Group 4 and not even have to worry about that. But anyways, that is all for the guide. Hope you all found it useful. This is Mr. MCA, wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.